Yo, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Darren, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy, a channel that talks about fashion, fragrance, and lifestyle. Mess with your boy, man. I'm gonna have you looking good and smelling great, because that's what I do, man. So if you don't mind, make sure you hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon as well to ensure you get notified when I upload new content on the channel. So on today's video, guys, I'm gonna be jumping into 10 discontinued gems in my collection that I'm really happy that I have them in my collection. You guys that probably are aware of this, of course, when fragrances start to be discontinued or the word gets out they're discontinued, then prices start to go up. Now, I will say this, I don't like to pay more than I have to for any fragrance, all right? So to say, of course, that I don't enjoy having to spend more money just because a fragrance is discontinued is an understatement. But I do think that there's this element of the chase sometimes, or I guess trying to acquire a fragrance for the best price possible once it's been discontinued, that I do enjoy. It's an element of this hobby that I personally enjoy, kind of the chase aspect of trying to track down some of these fragrances once they're discontinued. But again, with that being said, I do have 10 fragrances here, and this may be an installment here that I do another iteration of, because I do have more than this that's been discontinued. But these are the 10 that I want to start with. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And hopefully, if you don't have these in your collection, these may be some that you may want to go out and try to find yourself and try to do it for the best price that you can find it. So if you want to see what's on my list of 10 discontinued gems that I'm happy to have in my collection, then you guys know the routine. You know how we rock. You know how we get down. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it, baby.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's go ahead and jump into this list. This fragrance was highly sought after for a while, and I think there's still a lot of folks that are still trying to get their hands on this fragrance. I found mine in a swap group. I told you guys that's one of the things that I highly recommend if you are trying to get some good prices, not only on discontinued fragrances, but just fragrances in general. I think some of the swap groups are really good for that kind of stuff. But anyway, this fragrance was one that I got through a swap group. I think I may have paid maybe 100, a little over 100 for it, maybe no more than 120, maybe like 110. But anyway, this was from the house of Mugler, from the Amen collection, and this one was called Ultra Zest. Ultra Zest, man. I love the bottle, man. Just that orange bottle. Of course, this is what all the other Amen bottles look like overall, but this nice zesty orange color is something that I really love. This fragrance right here, man, is one that a lot of folks used to put on their summer list. I think I did it before. I would never put this on a summer list again, just because it has that nice orange zesty opening. I think it's orange in this, maybe a little bit of ginger. It's not really a summer fragrance to me. I think this is best actually suited for more of the fall. I think this fall is a perfect season for this fragrance. You could get away with it in winter, has enough heft to it, not overly sweet and cloying where you couldn't do it in the spring. I do think, honestly, in my opinion, it's a little bit cloying for summer days, maybe summer evenings, but I think the fall is a perfect season for this fragrance. Again, it has orange citrus notes in the opening, a little bit of mint, but when it dries down, man, you get some coffee, some cinnamon, some tonka bean, vanilla. So again, it's a very sweet fragrance. So that's what makes it good for cooler temperatures. But anyway, I am really glad that I have this in my collection, because continuing upon where you look, man, some folks are asking for $200-300 for this fragrance. So again, I'm happy I was able to procure a bottle of this for a little over $100. I do think it's worth that. From the house of Mugler, happy to have this in my collection. This is called Ultra Zest. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I am happy to have in my collection, as soon as I heard this was discontinued and they started coming out with the new versions of fragrances from this brand, I'm happy I was able to find a big 5-ounce bottle of this from the house of Christian Dior. This is the original Dior Homme. Dior Homme, again, it smells just like Dior Homme Intense, not as heavy on the leather. Some of the leathery kind of undertones of that Dior Homme Parfum and fragrances like that. This one is that beautiful, creamy, buttery cacao and iris combination. And this stuff is really good, man. It's to die for. Like I said, the new stuff is not horrible, but to me, when you compare the newer versions of these fragrances to the older ones, I just don't think that they really compare. These are just better, you know, and I don't know the reason that Dior's decided to make that change, but you know, again, I'm just happy that I have the originals in my collection. So I'm really happy to have the original in my collection from the house of Christian Dior. Again, this one is called Dior Homme. Another fragrance that I am overjoyed that I have this in my collection now, from the house of Gucci Intense Oud. Gucci Intense Oud, like I told you guys, for me now, this is probably one of the best, this is one of the best oud fragrances, designer oud fragrances that I have in my collection. This is just well done. It is well done, man. Like I said, it kind of puts you in the mindset of what's it called? From Versace. That a lot of people compare that to oud wood. They compare this to oud wood. Versace Oud Noir, I think that's the name of it, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of puts you in the mindset of those kind of fragrances. But to me, again, I give this one a slight nod over that one. There's a little bit of an exotic kind of sweetness to this fragrance that I just absolutely love. Oddly enough, this has been popping up a little bit more here recently, whereas for a while it was a dormant stage where you really could not find this fragrance. So now is the time, I think, if you do want to pick it up, if you like oud fragrances, you need to go ahead and put your nose on this fragrance and see if you like it enough to get a bottle. Because right now it's been, like I said, it's been seemingly popping up a lot more recently than it had in the past. But anyway, this one is from the house of Gucci, and this is called Gucci Intense Oud. Another fragrance that I am happy to have this in my collection. I do have a backup bottle of this because I always have to have this in my collection. From the house of Paco Rabanne, this is 1 Million Privé. 1 Million Privé, man. And like I said, I got a backup bottle of this one. I heard it was discontinued because it was one of my favorite designer fragrances of all time. It has a very warm apple and cinnamon combination in this fragrance. Some blood orange, like I said, a little bit of a slight ambery quality as it starts to dry down. An amazing fragrance. I absolutely love this stuff. Right along the lines of stuff, of course, like Parfums de Marly, Wajan, and a few others. Kilian's Angel Share that gives that apple pie kind of quality. Love this fragrance. My favorite from the 1 Million line. Glad to have this in my collection. Glad to have a backup bottle of this as well from the house of Paco Rabanne. This is 1 Million Privé. I was so upset when I heard that this fragrance was discontinued. I mean, I know there's various reasons that fragrances get discontinued, and I don't know why this one was, but I just know that it's a shame that it has been. From the house of Prada, Prada L'Homme Intense. Prada L'Homme Intense. I have always talked highly about this fragrance, especially the fact that it is probably, just off the top of my head, I know it's one of my longest lasting, best performing designer fragrances. I don't know if it's number one. I would really have to sit down and really look at it, but I know it's in the top. You still get that beautiful, powdery iris note, but what you get here that's not in the original is the amped up leather note. And to me, that's really what makes the difference between the original and this particular version. So if you could imagine the original Prada L'Homme combined with Tom Ford's ombre leather. That's exactly what this fragrance smells like. So if you've never smelled it, and if you smell those two fragrances again, think about the leather from Tom Ford ombre leather and the iris from the original, and that's exactly what this fragrance smells like. Now, I don't have a backup bottle of this, but I use it sparingly now, so I'm pretty sure I have it for a long time, and I'm glad that although it's been discontinued, I still have it in my collection. From the house of Prada, this is Prada L'Homme Intense. All right, guys, the next fragrance, and man, I am probably the saddest of all these fragrances on the list that this one has been discontinued, man. And the thing about it, this particular house doesn't do a lot of, communication and things of that nature. They don't really talk. I know they don't talk with influencers and stuff like that at all. So sometimes you just kind of have to pay attention to really know about this brand when stuff like this happens. But anyway, this one is from the house of Bond Number 9, and it's one of my favorites. This is New York Oud. New York Oud, I know there's some people that have been trying to get their hands on this fragrance, and now it's darn near impossible to get it. Just happy that I have myself a bottle, and now I'm going to really have to take my time with this fragrance and use it sparingly because I got to have this in my collection. This is one of my favorite fragrances. Definitely, I know if I did my top 20 in my entire collection, this is in my top 20 easily. There's been times it's been in my top 10, but anyway, another conversation for another day. I love this fragrance, Rose Oud Plum. That's what you're gonna get in this fragrance. And again, I'm just upset that this has been discontinued. It's one that I'm always gonna have. There's a lot of sentimental value in this bottle, which I'll talk about at another time. But anyway, I love it. I'm glad I have it, although it's been discontinued. I may try to find myself a backup bottle before, it gets too crazy. But this one is from the house of Bond Number 9, and this is called New York Oud. All right, guys, this next fragrance, I'm very happy I was able to procure a bottle of this, and I'll share how I did that in just a moment. But this fragrance is from the house of Robert Graham, which is a house that I probably never mentioned on the channel, but I am glad that I have this in my collection. This is called VALOUR. VALOUR. And what this is a very warm, spicy, ambery, coffee-based fragrance. Oh my gosh. It's one of the best coffee fragrances, designer or niche, in the fragrance game. Now, Robert Graham did a collection of fragrances. There were 3 in this collection. I don't remember the names of all of them. VALOUR. There were 2 others. Like I said, I can't think of them right now off the top of my head, but I remember seeing this a long time ago. My wife and I were at a TJ Maxx. We were out of town, and I picked up a bottle and I put it down. And then I heard it was discontinued, and I was kicking myself because I had a chance to get it. And then it was really hard to get. And I actually had a friend, a personal friend of mine from my hometown, that reached out to me, and he was selling a bottle, and he gave me a very good deal on this, and I snatched it up. I think he might charge me $60 for this, so it was a no-brainer. It's been discontinued, and now if you look on places like eBay and try to find this fragrance, people are asking for about between $200 and $250 for this fragrance, and sometimes even higher. So, But anyway, if you like coffee fragrances, I'm sure you would love this fragrance. It's discontinued, but I'm glad I have it in my collection. From that Robert Graham collection, this one is called VALOUR. All right, now this next fragrance actually comes from the private blend collection from Tom Ford, and I am overjoyed I was able to get my hands on this one. This one's called PLUM Japonais. PLUM Japonais, and what you're gonna get here is really simple, man. You get some beautiful spices in the opening, primarily cinnamon, with some amber. The benzoin is the amber, according to this, is really benzoin and vanilla. So it's heavy on the benzoin, heavy on the vanilla, and of course you're going to get the note of plum. And there's a slightly boozy quality that runs through the heart of this fragrance as well. Like I said, it's an amazing fragrance. Again, plum is a note that, although it's not used as much in fragrances, I love when I find fragrances that do feature the note of plum, and this was the best to ever do it. So I'm very happy that I have this in my collection. This is about 70% full. So I'm happy I was able to procure a bottle of it from the house of Tom Ford. Again, this is called PLUM Japonais. All right, guys, now this next fragrance was one of my first real loves in the designer fragrance realm of fragrances, and still one of my favorites to this day. Easily one of my top 10 designer fragrances of all time. It's sad it's been discontinued, but I'm glad I have a backup bottle. This is from the house of Mugler as well, and this is called Pure Havane. Pure Havane. Just off the top of my head, this may be my favorite designer fragrance of all time, if I'm being completely honest. I just love everything about it. I love, again, the nostalgia behind it. I remember when I did a full review of this fragrance, I wasn't feeling well that day. That was early on when I started reviewing fragrances, and I did a review on this scent. But one of my favorites, man, this piped cherry tobacco fragrance with some honey and cacao. A little bit of amber as well in this one. Just an amazing fragrance. Just an amazing fragrance. And again, I got 2 bottles. I saw another one, somebody was selling one and was in the original package, and I'm tempted to pull the trigger on that one. But anyway, one of my favorites of all time. Sad it's discontinued, but happy that I have a backup bottle in my collection from the House of Mugler. Again, this was called Pure Havane. All right, guys, and last but not least on this list of discontinued gems that I'm happy to have in my collection, this one comes from the House of Tom Ford as well, and it's this right here, Amber Absolute. Amber Absolute, there's about 40 ml in this decanter, and I have another 10 ml in a sprayer upstairs. And again, this simply put, this is probably the best amber fragrance ever created. And as you could imagine, the main note in this, or the main accord, is an amber accord that primarily features labdanum and vanilla. More so the labdanum in this one to me. This fragrance is very heavy on the labdanum in this scent. It's a little bit smoky and incensey, but man, again, if you like amber, a lot of people have probably said this, and they have been telling the truth. This is one that you have to get your nose on. I hope Tom Ford potentially brings this back. He's been bringing back some of the other discontinued gems from the private blend fragrances, and this is one that I hope he brings back, because I would love to have a full bottle, a full presentation of this. I saw somebody selling it in a group once in a 3.4 ounce bottle, but it was like $600. I was this close to pulling the trigger, but I had just spent money getting this partial. You know, if I hadn't just purchased this partial, then I probably would have pulled the trigger on that full bottle, but I probably should have still had done it anyway, because it was a 3.4 ounce bottle, and that's probably even more rare to find in the 1.7. But anyway, happy I do have it represented in the collection, man. This is from the House of Tom Ford, and this is called Amber Absolute. But that's it, guys. That's my time, man. I hope you enjoyed this video today, as I gave you 10 discontinued gems that I am happy to have in my collection. What are some discontinued fragrances that you guys have in your collection that you are happy to have in your collection as well? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section, so make sure you drop it down below. And as always, I sincerely appreciate your time and attention to these videos. Thank you guys for supporting. You don't have to watch, but you do, and man, sincerely, I, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that. Now, if you don't mind, guys, don't forget to make sure you take a few moments to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you're sharing these videos out to some other folks out there that you think could use this information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.